Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Vision to Success Digital Marketing Workshops. These are 3 marketing workshops that are organised, that are designed to help you take your vision and hopefully realise it into successful business. The structure of the next hour is going to be, we're going to have a short introduction as to what Vision to Success is all about. Then we've got an educational presentation. You're welcome to ask questions through chat. I've got chat here, I'll be able to keep an eye on it. We then going to offer you the opportunity to drop your details into the chat so you can gain some new connections. We're not going to go around robin as such, but if you want to connect with other people, please do. Then we'll open the floor to questions around digital marketing in general. I've got some questions that I'd like to ask you guys, and you know, as you saw, we were having a chat then, and actually explore some of these marketing issues that you've got. So it's different from the last 2 where we ran it with Mentimeter. I kind of felt that I was doing far too much talking. I'm quite a big fan of this book, the Coaching Habit, and so it's about saying less and asking more. So if you're into coaching style leadership, so I wanted this workshop to be like that as well. I didn't want people to get answers to the questions, but I also want you to think as well. I want to think about, you know, some of the questions I'm going to ask as well. And then we're going to also, kill my phone. Thanks. That's it. Throw it away. And then we'll be asking sort of questions what you're going to take away from today. So without further ado, we will share the screen. Okay. Hopefully you can all see the digital marketing funnel. Yeah. Cool. So today is all about getting an understanding of the customer journey to help you understand what information and actions are appropriate at the different stages. And we'll be digging into that in a little bit more detail. Those who don't know who I am, it's Peter Dickinson, business and digital coach. Been doing this for over 20 years now. I've been actually working with technology for people like Shell, Electricity Council and so forth, and plus smaller companies since 1984, and got over 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. We are both a coaching business, but also the bulk of our income comes through an agency that so my daughter joined me 6 years ago, and she drives the agency. Vision to Success is all about putting stuff back and giving you the tools that you need to get better at marketing. And of course, we're always available to help if needs be. Whilst we're running in the presentation, running Speaker View, I'll make myself spotlight, so hopefully that'll help. Use mute when not talking. Raise your hand to contribute when we're having the discussions, and I make basically, as you put your hands up, I write down who's next, and then we'll do it in succession, so we have an orderly conversation. If you want to ask questions through chat, please do during the presentation. Say it's on my right-hand side here, so I can see it when it comes up. And when we're in the discussion mode, please keep your video on, and we'll include you in the discussions. So what's the purpose? Well, it's to compete in this digital world. As Jane quite rightly said, it's changing rapidly, and the COVID has brought a lot of changes. And like Jane was saying, a lot of things that used to work don't work anymore. And we're finding we're having to take more sophisticated approaches. And hopefully you'll get some answers to your digital marketing problems. And we'll be launching a product hopefully next month, maybe the month after, which will be a community tool which will allow us all to get to know each other better, and to build up a community of people who we can go to for sort of ideas on marketing and so forth. In the meantime, we have the WhatsApp group. So vision to success. So this is a brand of CUB, which stands for Knowledge Underpinning Business, which is the main agency. So we've got the free Wednesday workshops, 11 to 12. We've got the book, which we'll talk about in a minute. We have got a couple of online courses, one on social media and one on LinkedIn lead generation. We used to charge for the LinkedIn lead generation one-to-one, but actually, if you just watch the course for £45, it'll give you everything that we'll teach you. And it will teach you to do it properly, not just pitch, which is what a lot of people do. And then we've got various coaching programs, like a fast track 90-day challenge. We can do a review of your current marketing, or we can help put the whole thing together for you using a set of tools. This is the book, 60,000 words, 6 years in the writing. It was the actual management process doesn't really change, but the tools and how you use the tools does change. So hopefully this gives you a broad view of what to do going forwards. And then there's a WhatsApp group. So if you could email, if you want to be part of the WhatsApp group, which we will put the link and so forth, please email your mobile to Rachel at cub-uk.com. Okay, let's get on to the main meat. So from today's educational workshop, you'll go away with ways to understand the marketing process. And it is a process, it's understand, and it's got to be joined up if it's going to work. A lot of people, in our early days as agency, we used to do bits of a bit of social media, a bit of LinkedIn and so forth. But we soon realized that that was not working anymore, and you had to actually join all the dots. So now we offer sort of, it's menu driven, so we pick off what you need, but we have to tailor and design your system before we can actually give you a quote. And it's not a majorly task, and I'm going to show you some tools to make it easy to do. And therefore, it should be able to identify the marketing approach that's right for you. So it's all about being systematic and sustainable. If you've got a low budget, better to do some things well and then bolt on the other bits that are less important. We showed this slide earlier on, but I need to show it again, just to, if you've either not seen the first week or as a refresher. So basically, the website is pretty much the only thing you can control. You own that. It's up to you to look after it and so forth, but nobody can take it away. Although you can get sandboxed by Google, so nobody can find you if you do inappropriate things or your site gets hacked or whatever. But generally, it's something you can control. Amazon and people like that will switch your business off if they feel you've done something wrong. And it could be for minor indiscretions, like you've not quite got the email matching, the domains matching the company name, or you use the wrong company registration details or something like that. And they'll switch £1 million business off, not just small players. We lost access to Amazon for about 6 weeks because we'd not filled in a piece of a registration document correctly. So you will revolve around that. Then you have the social media pulling into it. You have content. I mean, it's quite interesting. If we were running a project, big campaign for a client over several years, and we had social media, we had articles and so forth. But it's interesting, as soon as you stop that activity, the visitors soon drop off. We've got to keep that momentum going if you want those visitors coming through the site. Jay mentioned search engine optimization, and we'll look at where that fits. We talked about LinkedIn lead generation, which is pretty much the business-to-business platform where you can get at people, your contacts. I had an example the other day. Somebody wanted to get hold of quite a high-level production director in a particular organisation, because I've got 30,000 contacts, it took me 3 seconds, 4 seconds or whatever. It's, with the right, if you develop the right network, you can get this, you've got the 6 degrees of freedom. With LinkedIn and the right connections, you can reduce that down to 1 or 2 degrees of freedom. And then with the LinkedIn messaging, you can get in touch with them. So you can see it all relies on each other. And if you have not thought through each of these things, you may not need all these components. But if you haven't thought them through, it can lead to difficulties. So when we look at a business, we look at all these components. This is more in reality. So we use a program called Creately. I love Creately. I can do this whilst talking to you via Zoom. I've got a meeting later on today where I'll be doing this with a client. And by the end of probably an hour and a half, we've actually determined what their digital marketing ecosystem is going to look like. We've got to remember that when we're talking about marketing funnel, which is where people are coming in at different stages, got to remember that they'll come at you at quite a wide range of angles. So what are the basics? So if you Google marketing funnel, you'll get quite a wide variety of descriptions and so forth and complexity. I like this one because it matches onto the know, like, trust, buy. Doesn't matter whether you're an e-commerce site or whether you're a high-value global consultant or a large corporate or a small and medium-sized company. You've got to go through this know, like, trust, and in getting to know you, that's the awareness stage where people are trying to solve the problem. What problem am I going to try to solve? Because they know something's wrong, but they're not actually sure how to solve the problem. So that's where you need to have information and resources available to people to explain to them, this is how you solve that particular problem. And then hopefully at the acquisition stage, you're going to get some email address, because that email still works. It's still a powerful tool. The ratios are getting worse because open rates are getting lower and so forth. You're having to do more with making sure that the email lands in the inbox and not in the spam box, as more and more checking is put in with the email servers. And then it's about building that trust. This is why we run these workshops. It's to build that engagement and trust, so that you feel more comfortable dealing with an agency should you need an agency, or a coach should you need a coach. Then hopefully there's they'll then buy from you. And as we're going to see, we need to pick up on this visitor behaviour. So as I say, top of funnel, or TOFU, is what do I need? And middle of funnel, can you solve my problem? Can you as a supplier, I've now identified the problem, can you as a supplier solve your problem? And of course, as you then get drop off as you go down. So what marketing resources? So this is the key question. So we know we've got to need something different. So in terms of digital marketing resources, things like social media. I mean, in the early days, people go, "For social media, I'm doing loads of social media, but it's not bringing in sales." Yeah, well, because it's top of funnel. There are things you can now do with Facebook ads and Instagram ads and so forth, and LinkedIn ads, which drive people down this funnel. So hopefully you're converting. I mean, we've probably all been on either Instagram or Facebook and clicked on something that looks really interesting, go down a rabbit hole, and you end up nearly getting your credit card details out to buy whatever it is you've looked at. So the linkage is getting stronger, but for most companies, it's a high level thing. It's about brand awareness. It's getting engagement on the social media platform. Got quite a few examples where companies have put quite a lot of effort into, say, LinkedIn, and because they've done that, they've then got inquiries from LinkedIn. But then they've still got to take them down to so they've got to know them. We've got to be aware of them and know them, but we've still got to make it happen. So then acquisition. So we're running workshops as an example of the acquisition stage. None of you are committing to anything. You're here to learn. The website stuff will go on the website. There'll be more that adds to more learning material. And then, should you wish to, there's always then the opportunity to either, if you're on a website like an e-commerce site, or if you're selling to a higher volume to consumers, you'll have web chat, which will have question answers built in and so forth, so that you can start a mass customized conversation with a lot of people, and then only needing to get involved in emails or Zoom meetings later on. Then hopefully that drops to conversion. And a lot of website people say, oh, the website's not working. But then you actually look at the website, there's no calls to action. They're not taking them through the funnel. So if you go into the Vision to Success website, there's events. You click on the event, we then grab your email, and then you hopefully get something back in return in terms of you get the information that you want in order to solve your problem. So what measure gets done? So it is important, and I do have this conversation with lots of clients about putting together a digital marketing dashboard of some kind, or understanding what those stats are. Some of this stuff, especially if you're an e-commerce site, is just as important for as your profit and loss. And if you've got a marketing budget and you're spending money, then you should be looking at this stuff. What's working, what's not working? Where is your money being spent? Why is it? What's worked and what's not worked? So at the top level, you've got website visitors or sessions. Visitors might be unique visitors, so you might have had 500 unique visitors, but they may come back several times. So that every time they come back, that's called a session. So my preference is for sessions, but as I say, that's just a preference. Not on here, but bounce rate is an important one. If your bounce rate is 80 or 90%, bounce rate is where somebody comes into the site and then goes straight back out again. Not much use. They've not travelled down that customer journey. So bounce rate, time on site. Then if you're sending out emails, the open rates, maybe videos, video views, and so forth. Then acquisition stage, you might want to look at likes, comments, shares. How many people have clicked through on your email marketing, or if you're using display advertising, the advert clicks. And then when into conversation, it's how many people have been in web chat, how many email inquiries, how many phone calls. I mean, how many of you here, is a rhetorical question, but how many of you here keep a record of inbound inquiries where they've actually made an inquiry, and you created an inquiry sheet, and you've actually asked the client, where did they find you? We did this with quite a large cleaning company, and they were getting several calls a day for inquiries for their business, but didn't actually ask the customer, well, where did you hear from us? Well, if you don't ask where you hear from us, how do you know what's working and what's not working? There are clever things you can do with telephone numbers and things like that, but I've not really come across that these days, because hopefully a lot of people go through your web chat function, is that thing on the bottom right hand side. That's becoming increasingly relied upon by customers. I know I rely on it a lot these days. Always looking for that bottom right, and have you got one? So then bringing it all together, bringing that chain together. So we've got our website, which is the core. Then we'll be, if it's applicable, putting content on. Don't forget, you can use content to drive traffic through search engine optimization, but quite often by putting content on the website and then putting a post to it on LinkedIn, that still works. It's not as good as it used to be. We used to get 2,000 views for a decent post. on LinkedIn. But now you have to get quite a lot of engagement and so forth. But it still has that benefit, and you've got there. And we write our articles in a way, so if somebody asks us a question and say, oh, well, here's the answer. So they can go away, read it if that's what they want to do. And that's where the search engine optimization comes in. But if you're paying a company to do it, and we're going to come on to why you would or wouldn't do that later. Mustn't forget the mobile. That's becoming, that is very important these days when we design a website. Once the site's been designed for desktop, we have to design it for mobile, make it mobile responsive so it works in both situations. And Google measures your site not on desktop, but it measures it on mobile. How responsive it's on mobile, and you'll be quite shocked at the difference in speeds and so forth. And then we still use email marketing, still does work. If you've got a strong brand, then obviously branding and so forth. But you can see that it builds, and then increasingly video marketing. We're working with a display network company that you can go into Google and do this yourself, but it doesn't get you onto all the websites and insufficient control. They're just launching at the moment. Their adverts are kind of moving static images, whereas what we're finding is more and more we're having to develop a video for somebody. Only 15 seconds, but it's that intention grabber and wanting to find out more on the ads. Back to, so once you've built it, so this is the creative version of what we just looked at, but obviously everybody's is different. You'll start off with competition, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's important to understand what keywords working and what don't work. This is becoming more complex, unfortunately, so we would suggest, and we're going to, in further workshops, looking at that more detail. But we're doing some keyword analysis for somebody now on divorce and separation, and some keywords work really well, some won't. We'll be covering that in next week's workshop. Then we've got creating the content and so forth, but yours might be different. Can't just copy this and go, oh yeah, that'll do. There's a lot more to take into account. So it's interesting, we're all getting engaged in the digital side of things, but we mustn't forget we're human beings. And this, in the 1920s, the Rule 7 came out, and it's probably actually increased, maybe in Rule 11 now. In those days, it's 7. But it's surprisingly number how many touches you have to have with somebody, either via email or social media or whatever. And part of the sort of what we're doing this year is when we're working with a client to launch a community networking program, which sits between LinkedIn and a CRM, is about how you maintain your community, how you, as a business, keep your customers engaged, stop them from getting distracted from looking at the competition. And you can do it through all these ways, as we've shown: social media, your website, getting found by Google, the advertising, landing pages. This is where you go to drive people to a specific page with a specific offer on, and Facebook and LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups, we find we've got LinkedIn group, but it doesn't work very well. We do tend to use Facebook groups a lot. But all that's, I think, open to change. So one of the things that people think of, so I've drawn marketing from a nice straight line, but it isn't, unfortunately. And people can circle back, when they've researched a problem and then they've had a chat with the mates down the pub or whatever, they might, and somebody go, well, have you thought about this? And then the whole research process starts again. So it's just remembering that, making sure that at every one of your touch points in your business, it could be that, talking to a driver, you know, I used to run a business, haulage business, taking organic waste to land and so forth. And we used to give leaflets to the drivers, you know, to hand out to customers and so forth. So understanding your competition. So there's a book called The Infinite Game, by Simon Sinek. He talks about worthy rivals. One of my questions is, who are your worthy rivals? Who do you not copy, but think, yeah, they're really good, and what things can you learn from them to improve what you do? Not to copy them, but to improve them. Paul's saying, yeah. Will the slides be available? Yes, afterwards. Yes, they will. If you go into the free workshops menu at the top, and then if you hover over it, there's a drop down, and there's a link to the page, which is where we're putting both the recording, which is always recorded, and also slide deck as well, so that you can come back to it, because I appreciate there's a lot to take on board. Yeah, thanks, Rachel, and good to see you, Maura. So one of the things, first question is how competitive is your marketplace? What is it that, you know, if you're a telecoms company, for example, you've got to have a very aggressive outbound. You know, nobody's going to find you. There are one or two people who are, and we met one guy, we interviewed one guy, and he was an expert at getting your telecoms company found on Google, but it costs a lot of money and a lot of work to do that. Whereas we worked with an industrial rubber manufacturer. They made all the sort of big rubber moldings for trains and things like that, and buffers and stuff like that. Very, you know, dark satanic mills type business. Just having a website was actually made them a market leader. So you've got to understand, you know, what people are doing, how, you know, who's really working with digital marketing, who's not. You know, you can't be complacent. It doesn't matter what industry it is. If somebody who's digitally savvy is working in that business, then they will give that business a competitive advantage. And then it's looking at, you know, what's their approach to market. Do they just sort of wait for the phone to ring? You know, like a lot of companies still do. A lot of companies still get, when I've been running workshops, I've asked the question, where do you get your sales from? A lot of people still get referrals. And during lockdown, that got a bit tricky, because you know, things dried up. But you know, the business is back up and running again for the most part. And then looking at, and we can use tools to identify them. Again, we're going to be looking at that in the next workshop. So one of the things you've got to be really clear on is do you need to have an inbound strategy, i.e. you can put all your stuff up and you put your stall up and the stuff will come in, the orders will come in, because there's not a lot of competition. You've got a uniqueness, you've got very unique, or you know, something like that. You may be able to use pay-per-click, and Google Ads might work for you. It can be an extremely effective tool for the right products and services. I would always recommend, regardless of how competitive your marketplace is, that you do sort out your Google for my business. You know, you say, well, we're a national company or whatever. It doesn't matter. Somebody types in your company name and where you're located, and if it comes up and people have put 1-star and 3-star and 2-star reviews on your Google profile, that will damage your business. You need to respond if people are doing that. You need to know this stuff is happening. So don't neglect Google My Business. It's kind of crept up on everybody. I was working with a company the other day, and we had to try and get hold of their Google My Business, because unfortunately Google registers these things, but then doesn't tell you what it's done and so forth, and then you have to claim it. And then obviously post onto LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. How often you post on those dictates as to what impact that's going to have on your marketing. If people are looking at what you do and so forth, then great, go ahead. But if not, you're into customer feedback, pilot reviews, so things like that. If you're an e-commerce site, using social media, LinkedIn, lead generation, where you're actually going out, talking to the folk. We're doing lots more marketing automation. So we'll have a series of emails lined up, dependent on whether you've opened it or clicked through and so forth. And, they can be quite, you might have 4 or 5 emails in that chain, but depending on what you do, how you react to an email and so forth will depend on how you go through that process. Obviously, the sort of or just putting a post on Facebook and being seen by lots of strangers finished a few years ago. It's organic. It's called organic reach. LinkedIn is going the same way. Because of lockdown, everybody said, "Oh, you've got to post onto LinkedIn. It'll be on save and so forth." And of course, the whole world jumped on LinkedIn. So now we're all having to pay for it because in order to get exposure, we now need to do LinkedIn ads. Remarketing's a powerful tool. We were talking to a display networks provider the other day, and it's surprising how people didn't put. It's only a little piece of code which is now really easy to put on your website, which then, so if you go on the website, it'll then track, then show you the adverts. And remarketing can be extremely powerful. And then you can develop strategic relationships, and you can do, well, we've now gone, there's virtual networking, but there's also obviously face-to-face now. I put Clubhouse on there, not sure about Clubhouse. It was all a rave during sort of lockdown, but now people are out and about, we've kind of put it to one side a little bit. Okay, so bringing it together, some of the actions to take away is, what does your digital marketing process look like? Have you captured it? Have you documented it? And say, with Creately, the free version is free to do. In your funnel, what percentage of customers drop off? Do you know? Do you measure it? Do you look at the number of people on the website, number of people maybe putting into chat, people who are placing inquiries, etc. Who are the competition? How good are they? What do you need to improve your marketing? So just going to look at. I'm going to go after the slide, close the slide deck. We're going to ask some questions. Yeah, we'll do that now. Okay. Okay. So going around the room, if we start with you, Jeff, what have you taken away from today in that presentation? Just now, take yourself off mute.
New to digital marketing, made redundant, finance manager, asset finance, business finance. I'm just dismayed about the number of people out there doing it, and I think the problem is you can spend all your time looking at the resource there, and I've zeroed in on a few people and sucked up some free resource. I've got a website built. To be honest, I got it done in lockdown. I'm not happy with this. So I'm just looking really to define my path. I sort of know who my customers are, and I'm trying to devise the best strategy to sort of reach them. But obviously from financially a very low base level, low spend. And at the moment, I'm just researching. Obviously why I signed up to listen to you today. I've sort of grabbed bits from everyone. There is a couple of people out there, coaches who sort of specialize in the sector that I want, but it's difficult, Peter. It's just research and listening to people and trying to pick your best line through it and find something that works for you. And I guess I'm in that phase at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, with the finance and so forth, the asset financing and things, you probably, have you done much physical networking, you know, face-to-face type networking?
I've done it many years ago, Peter, and I found that you're in a room with 100 people BNI, and they're all the same people. And I never got much success out of it. And that was on the company's pound. Now I haven't bothered. I'm on LinkedIn and I use Navigator and Octopus.
Okay,
for outreach. So I'm growing my audience in that respect. Have I had anything from it? It's only been 2 months, but yeah, I have. I've had a couple of reasonable inquiries.
Yeah.
You know, I should see some confirmed revenue off that with the first one I'm looking to knock over, who I'm actually speaking to now, which is a guy's looking to fund something, a bit of machinery for £1.5 million. So that could be really good. But at the moment, although I'm getting the connections and I've got my messages set up in Octopus, I don't think I'm getting enough from it, you know.
Are you on, without going into too much detail, we do cover this in a few weeks down the line. Are you pitching, or are you asking a paying question?
I'm asking questions, so I have a connection message, which is very open. You know, on the basis of the question is, you know, puts their name in. I do the research on my lists and download via Navigator, goes across to Octopus. So I have an open message, which is, you know, like to connect, first name in, to, you know, to explore mutually beneficial opportunities. I'm finding the uptake on the connections quite high. And then there's a second message where you're trying to sort of open them up. I think I need some work on it, really, and I need to focus on it more, Peter, because although they're all connected, they really, after that, the journey, it doesn't end, but you know that I'm not getting any more engagement.
Do you do regular posts onto LinkedIn?
Not really, no, I haven't.
You need to, so some people will, what they'll do is they'll look at your message. So sometimes I get messaged all the time, and if it looks interesting, before I even respond or whatever, I'll go and look at the profile. And if the profile isn't top, you know, really good, and it's talking about what they're talking about, then that's it. I don't do anything else.
Yeah.
There is a book. If you want to capture the theory, Social Selling Mastery. As you see, it's lots of stuff, because we've developed our online course using this.
Right.
You go to, Rachel, do you want to stick learning.cub-uk.net in there? So we've developed a course based around it, and it's using similar. We talk about duck soup, but Octopus is
duck soup.
Yeah. Okay. Ella, what actions did you pull out from today's workshop?
Well, I found it all quite interesting, because I've been to the other two, is it two or three previous ones? So I started out on my own just in front of lockdown back in 2019, which was good. So but I read, because I'm an accountant, I actually read a couple of accounting marketing books before starting out.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've done is focus my brand and focus my audience and that sort of thing. So what I've been doing basically is using your Wednesday workshops because I mean, I am on my own and I'm doing what I think I should be doing, but it's always good to sort of touch base and see what else I could be doing that I'm not doing.
Yeah.
So, and also for my clients, because I have a few clients that also have the same issues as probably everybody else. They want to get themselves known out there, and it is a changed market. It's completely different. And I found it was really interesting what you were saying in one of the previous slides about the competition. Yeah. So the practices I worked in previously, one of the reasons I left and I went come out to start my own, is because accountants as a breed are very much, we've always done it this way. So there are a few of us out there that are proactive and looking to use digital software and digital marketing and to go into the 21st century, but there's an awful lot that aren't, which could be, and they could be. So I don't really see them as competition, just sort of other people in the area.
Can I ask how proactive you are at accounting?
Very. So I speak to my clients more, if not monthly, at least every 6 weeks. We contact each other on WhatsApp. It's all very relaxed, because they don't just use me for accounting, they use me for advisory services, one-off reports and all that sort of thing. Now my pain point is this business with this CRMs and HubSpots and all of that. I have the free HubSpot. I've had it for about a year, and I do not know how to use it. I can't even get a email template thing. So I have my clients, and obviously when things happen like MTD and all that sort of thing happens. And so, of course, I want to send them an email to say, hey, guys, just remember this. These are the deadlines, blah, blah, blah. I have been told that HubSpot and these softwares are really good for this sort of thing. And I can never get them to work. Never. It just doesn't work.
Have you looked at MailChimp? Because that's probably about the easiest. I know it's not a CRM, it's an email marketing system, but
yeah,
you put the emails in, you put the names in, and then you write an email, and you join the two together, and you press a button, and it's free for less than 2,000 contacts.
Right. Yeah.
We don't use MailChimp ourselves, just we use a thing called Active Campaign, but that is a lot more sophisticated. But if you just want to send an email out to a bunch of people, then yes, you could use HubSpot. But to be honest, we would just say, do the free MailChimp.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't. One of the US.
I feel I'm using a nuclear weapon to try and sort of crack a nut.
You are. Yeah, the HubSpot CRM's a great tool, and one of the things I'm thinking about is, after these 10 I've designed already done, is what to do next. So things like security, actually managing change, and looking at the CRM systems, because more and more are out there. And but if you just want to send a simple email, forget the sophistication, send it via MailChimp. And then once you've got a customer, we use Monday.com to manage everything in our business, absolutely everything in the business. If it's not on Monday, we're not doing it. And you can use Monday as a CRM, but that's when they become customers. That's when you've got the quote out and you're working with them. And one of the workshop, I think it has to be CRMs, doesn't it? I need to write that.
Yeah, because there's so many out there, and there's so many people selling you this stuff. I go onto HubSpot now, and it says, it's things like it sucks in all the emails I get, regardless of who they're from. So we all get the spam. It takes on the spam as well. It's like, that sort of thing. And the other thing that I found interesting was, so going back to Jeff's point on LinkedIn, so what I did was focus. So my market that I focus on is aviation, transport, logistics.
Yeah.
Aeroplanes, trucks, and getting to A to B, that sort of thing. So when I contact LinkedIn potential contacts, they tend to be in that area, and then Jeff, with my follow-up, because it's an area I'm interested in, like aviation companies, synthetic fuels, and new types of planes and stuff, so that my follow-up will concentrate on what they're interested in and have questions about what they're interested in rather than what I'm doing. Because what I do is obvious. I mean, everybody here knows what an accountant does. We count your numbers, so that's easy. So by concentrating my contacts, if you look at my contact lists, I think a huge majority of them are all going to be in the aviation industry or in transport, because that's the area that I'm focusing on. And then when I do my follow-ups, I tend to do the follow-ups on that. And yeah, but it's slow because I'm not paying for any boosts, any adverts in that.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't need to. The expense is Sales Navigator to get that razor sharp filtering. Yeah. Rick, can I just ask what you've taken away from or what actions you're going to do?
I mean, I work with Jane and we do sort of like import export of cars and vans and trucks.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. Just made the link there. Yeah. Sorry, Jane.
and we're pretty good on Facebook, or we think we are, but there's always different things we need to know. LinkedIn, we need to learn some things. We want to try and get in touch with some sort of fleet managers. So it's sort of like how we get in touch with them. I know LinkedIn's not for sort of selling, it's for sort of contacts, isn't it? And getting in touch with people. And
yeah.
So I'm just trying to pick up some tips on how.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thanks, Rick. Jane?
I thought there's a few things. As we've been talking, I've been sending some links over to Rick. I like the idea on the leaflets for drivers. I think that's a bit of a no-brainer, but I've never thought of it. So I think that's a really good idea, because if they're collecting vehicles, then somebody's invariably selling them, and they might be selling more. So that seems to me that's a really good, like I say, very obvious stroke, not very obvious piece of information I've brought back today. I'm really interested in the Google analytics side that you've talked about, and also I was taking a lot of notes around the CRM system, and this will lead into what your accountant was just saying earlier. So as your accounting lady, I've forgotten her name, I'm really sorry. Helen, as soon as Helen was saying, it's, the whole world's changing, digital marketing's changing, and accountancy changing. So all of our accounting systems now are digital. And we have a CRM system that's linked to our inventory system that flows from our customer database. So we can have an integrated model. But that's something, again, where we we have all these bolt-ons to our accounting and our inventory and our CRM system. And I'd be interested to see, because we need to start doing more email campaigns. So having gone through your first course and looked at all the different methods of digital marketing, we'd identified in the new year that actually we weren't doing any email campaigns to any of our existing or potential customers. So we have started to gather the inbound inquiry information, which you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping to start to build this bigger database of customers and potential customers. And on that basis, we want to start the email. So I want to start, so some of the ones that you've just mentioned on your email marketing tools, I've been making notes about that, because I want to now see if that integrates with our existing CRM system. It may be that all we're having to do with something like MailChimp is download the email addresses and feed them into something like MailChimp. I'm not sure, but that's kind of like one of the things that today I took away. We need to look at that in more detail, because I think if we're going to get it wrong, we need to do it now before our database is really big.
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to try that. I want to try that out this month. So that's that'll be one of my action points before next week.
Good, excellent. Giles, do you want to contribute anything?
Yeah, of course. So basically, my sort of social media sort of side of the marketing is going really well at the moment. I had lots of inquiries, people getting in touch and everything like that. However, because of sites like Etsy, people don't really want to. I guess my pricing point is a lot higher than people are expecting.
Yeah, well, it's one of the challenges with your business, Giles, that like you say, you can get lots of inquiries, but it's getting the inquiries from people with the money, you know, and who appreciate things designed. So although you think, oh yeah, it's got to be Facebook, actually it's, you know, these people live in different worlds and different circles, and you know, it's the challenge for you is to try to find, you know, where your customer is.
I mean, for instance, if I was to design and make a pen, for instance, it's going to take me 5 hours to design and make it. Workshop costs 40 quid an hour to run. That's 200 quid plus 50 quid materials. That's 250 quid.
Yeah,
and you can go and buy a fountain pen for £2.99 from Argos.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of the stuff you've been doing where you've gone, what's quite interesting, I was talking to a manufacturer of shoes a few years ago now, about 3 or 4 years, I guess. And they used to manufacture in up in the valley in Baker, which is known for shoemaking, and 100,000 square foot of factory and so forth. And on one visit, I came in and they were moving all the sewing machines out. Everything had gone to China. And then a few years later, I was having a conversation with him. What he was saying is the middle market's disappearing. You know, M&S, the M&S market is just disappearing. So you either go really cheap, Aldi or whatever, or it's bespoke, you know, and expensive. And people will mix and match as well. So they might buy an expensive coat, but they might buy a shirt or whatever from cheap clothes shop, which I can't remember the name of. So how often I go shopping. So you know, so you've got to get that upper strata, and they are actually quite a hard audience to get to. Just want to finish off with Murray, who's Murray from Monitor Creative. And, Murray, would you like to add anything? You're not saying I'm not going to learn anything from me, but
well, first of all, I'd just like to apologise for being half an hour late, but we had a client meeting which ran over, and I wasn't going to tell them that to go away. So I'm sorry about that. I've downloaded the link to this the slide deck, and what I'm going to do is to check it against what we are currently doing. We had a strategy meeting back in September, which was planning for this year, and one of the decisions was to appoint a marketing executive for our business.
Oh, wow.
So instead of working for clients, she works for us. So that's been very productive. The thing about what you've been talking about is that the database for me is absolutely key. We have been targeting a variety of business sectors, and we've decided to focus on one, which has given in the nearly 3 decades we've been going, has given us the most income. Inevitably, that means that we have the most experience and the most expertise. So we're focusing on that. It remains to be seen whether that's a good decision or not, because it was the decision was taken about 3 months ago. But it certainly focuses your mind on getting the database right and getting the messages out there in whatever message carrier you use. We used LinkedIn and Twitter and email marketing. Getting the messages out there that resonate with the people that you're trying to get to know, trying to build a relationship with. So what I'll be doing after this is checking your slide deck, see where I've got to, and then if we're missing something, I'll be back in touch.
Brilliant. All right, it's good to see you again, Murray.
And you.
Okay. Right. Okay. So this comes us up to the hour. I try to keep these things all on time. So we'll be back next week with the next in the series. I think it's how to get to the top of Google. We will be developing the series going forwards and using the sort of what we're talking about here to then build onto the series, so that and at some point it will get recycled. But there's quite a lot more areas to cover past that 10 weeks, and the idea is that we build the connections as well. And Ella, just one thing: if all you do is promote the fact that you're proactive and that you spend time with your clients talking about, looking at their profit and loss, you'll set yourself head and shoulders above most accountancy firms. And I love the idea you're focused, as Maury was saying. He's decided to go, for one sector. We talk to everybody, but that does have its disadvantages. Whereas you're clearly an expert on those areas.
Yeah, we don't just talk about numbers.
Yeah, you just got to get over that you're proactive. I think if you just said, I'm a proactive accountant, you'll kill it.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks.
It's a complaint I get all the time. Can I find a proactive accountant?
Yeah, and that's one of the things, one of the first inquiries I got when I first started, and because I used to get told off a lot because I would be on the phone to the clients for about an hour when I was working in other practices. It's like, oh, you've been on the phone all this time. And I'm like, yes, we were going through her bank account and it didn't agree. And she's in Devon and I'm in Sutton, and so it's all on the phone. And piece by piece we went through and we fixed her bank. By the end of the phone call, it was all done. She went away very happy, but I'd spent an hour and a half on the phone.
Right,
there you go.
That's your marketing message. That's okay, guys. It's been great to work with you. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you.